Karim Benzema is the father of Stamford Bridge, actually. The results are in and he's the father confirmed. But we'll first go to the father of football himself, Unai Emery. God, I like that one. King Emery has done it again, you know. King Emery cannot be stopped, you know. Wow, man. It's just the first leg. I know that it's likely that Bayern will take this personally and do the Bayern thing. That thing being scoring 4+ goals in one game. But my goodness, let's just enjoy this achievement by Unai Emery and Villarreal as they beat Bayern Munich 1-0 at the Estadio de la Ceramica. And it could have been worse for Bayern. That's the crazy part. First of all, when looking at the lineups, and you all will say that it's because I'm Canadian that I'm saying this, but a round of applause for Alphonso Davies, who made his much anticipated return to the pitch after nearly 4 months on the sidelines as he overcame myocarditis. Crazy how time flies. His last match was a 4-0 win for Bayern against Wolfsburg prior to the winter break. Great to see him out there. And he was arguably Bayern's best player on the pitch as he was a menace down that left flank as per usual. However, Kimmich was class as per usual. But that block by Davies on Gerard Moreno, oh my God. Manuel Neuer had a couple of strange moments as far as he is concerned on the night of mistakes from roving keepers. We'll get to Mendy later. Manuel Neuer not only conceded a cross that went straight into his goal, which was of course ruled out later, but the more egregious moment was when he found himself in midfield. Bayern lost the ball and Villarreal nearly converted on the open goal. When I said it could have been worse for Bayern, this and many other chances are what I was talking about. Villarreal went toe-to-toe with Bayern as far as great opportunities go. I mean, the XG in this match was nearly equal, and while Bayern defended from the front in that they played on the front foot and dominated possession in their opponent's half most of the time as their best form of defense, Emery's organization of Villarreal's defense saw them keep distance well, like a boxer really, keeping their arm outstretched to keep distance between themselves and their opponent. Villarreal did that with their goal up against Bayern. While Rulli had to make some saves, it wasn't crazy. But anyway, Villarreal's goal came courtesy of Arnaud Danjuma, the man who said prior to this match, quote, "It's fair and factual to say I'm amongst the best wingers in the world." The former Bournemouth player redirected a Dani Parejo strike into the goal, leaving Manuel Neuer absolutely no chance on that occasion. Just prior to halftime, Francis Coquelin's mishit cross looped over Neuer and in, but he was a tad offside upon receiving the ball, so Bayern were really let off there. Imagine, man. Wow. And there were other moments that Villarreal had opportunities to double their lead in the second half, with their strikes just getting deflected behind for a corner, or the Villarreal players fluffing their lines, or Davies getting a block. There could have been 2 or 3, and perhaps they will live to regret not scoring more against Bayern, as they will now have to go to the Allianz Arena against a very, very angry Bayern Munich. Prior to these ties, we spoke about on the Unsackable podcast about how if there ever was a time to face Bayern, this would have been it. For all of their issues in defense lately, I mean, since then, both Goretzka and Davies have come back. Well, Goretzka momentarily as he was subbed off due to an elbow to the head, but he'll be fine in a couple of days, I'm sure. Goretzka's return cannot be understated, as he and Kimmich made up the best midfield duo in Europe for quite some time. But still, more puzzling results for Unai Emery. They lost 2-0 to 19th place Levante on the weekend, but when this man smells a 2-legged tie, he turns his team into the most airtight, tactically disciplined, and patient team around. It's ridiculous, man. They get a clean sheet at home against Bayern. Wow. So, Villarreal with a 1-goal lead going away to Bayern Munich next Tuesday. Mamma mia. Chelsea are not in stupendous form. That much I know is true, because when we see a team that used to pick up clean sheets for fun and would make opposing teams' attackers' eyes water out of frustration, just go ahead and allow Karim Benzema to complete his hat-trick in that manner, there's something wrong, fella. Edouard Mendy and Antonio Rudiger, ugh. So, Real Madrid, who haven't looked stupendous themselves lately, rock up to Stamford Bridge and get a pretty convincing 3-1 win, as their Champions League magic never ceases to amaze me, man. In tournaments like this, like I spoke of at length after Real Madrid finally woke up for the final 25% of their tie against PSG, their Champions League form seemingly supersedes their domestic form, which isn't really a foreign concept, because believe it or not, that happens with Benfica as well. But when we talk of Real Madrid's domestic form being not at their best, beyond El Clásico, they are still finding ways to win, one way or another, even if it requires penalties. And even with that poor form, they're still top of the table. But for Chelsea, after getting stunned by Brentford on the weekend, they were stunned by the fastest Benzema 1-2 punch. In a 3-minute span, Benzema gave a masterclass on how to execute the perfect header. There was the guided header, powered straight into the top corner for the opener, and then that cushioned header, which was basically the football equivalent of a fadeaway, heading Modric's cross back across goal and perfectly into the corner, leaving Mendy with no chance at all to save it. The guy scores in bunches, like he did against PSG. And when I say that this Chelsea defense was a bit all over the place at times, I mean it. I mean, Vinicius was unlucky to not open the scoring earlier in the match as he was torching that left flank up against Christensen, then had a strike ring off the bar. Honestly, beyond Thiago Silva, even Rudiger was looking pretty shaken back there. Someone who in recent months had been an absolute rock, and all of the buzz about him being wanted by some of the biggest clubs in Europe was absolutely merited. He looked like an elite defender for a while, but not today. Chelsea had plenty of attempts, but you take all of those and the amount of quality chances for each side, and they seemed pretty even, really. Expected goals was relatively close. Real Madrid's at 1.77, while Chelsea's was 1.38. Thibaut Courtois probably had to make the more difficult saves out of the two keepers, while Chelsea found ways to miss when they really shouldn't be missing. Mason Mount was one of the perps in this area, while Romelu Lukaku, my man, didn't take notes from Benzema how to head the ball. I mean, he was standing in almost the exact same spot as Benzema when Lukaku headed wide. He didn't take notes, but at least Kai Havertz did. Great goal from him. Man, what a calamity that Lukaku signing is turning out to be, eh, folks? In fact, before I get to Chelsea, hang on. I will commend Real Madrid more because, like I said earlier, it's as if that Champions League anthem plays and they go Super Saiyan. Similar to Unai Emery in European competitions. Another match, another shining display from Real's core of veterans. Well, we got to give special mention to Ferland Mendy as well, as he was solid on that left flank. And even Carvajal, a player I pointed to as potentially being an issue for Real defensively, was excellent against Chelsea. Perhaps if Chilwell was playing, that would be a different story, but again, if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. And if the Ballon d'Or had any brains, then they probably wouldn't look beyond Karim Benzema as a future winner. I mean, he is in the form of his life, and his finishing ability is beyond what I would have expected of this guy back in the 2017-18 season when he was struggling for goals. No. Not just because of Ronaldo, but because he was crap at finishing back then and missed sitters for fun. Two things can be true. His role was different, and he was poor at finishing at the time. But now he's just a different breed of Benzema. 37 goals and 13 assists from 36 appearances. That's 50 goal contributions from just 36 appearances. That's ridiculous form, as he can not only score, but set up just as well. And for me, he's the best striker in the world at the moment. The best player in the world at the moment. Respect to Lewandowski as an elite finisher. Respect to Mbappe, who is next on deck. But Benzema is that guy, pal. He is that guy. Now, Chelsea. Weird vibes at the club right now, and we talked about this at length during the live stream yesterday. Chelsea's players have to be affected by all of the uncertainty surrounding the club, right? I mean, there is going to be a conclusion to the sale of the club, that's for sure. It will come to an end eventually, but close your eyes for a moment. Go on, close them, and listen to the sound of my voice. You're a player for Chelsea, and there is plenty of uncertainty at the club. Why is that? Because your billionaire owner is leaving. And he leaves behind him a very, very difficult business model for the future owners to sustain. Abramovich ran Chelsea in a way that many future owners could not, loaning them £1.5 billion and being able to write them off without much fuss. Well, being real for a moment, I'm sure it didn't come easy to Roman to write those loans off, but in the end, he wasn't really given a choice. Anyway, with new owners comes the potential of having to sell a bunch of players to redo the wage bill. I'm not saying to AC Milan levels, as Elliott management have done, but there could be big changes. The next few years as a Chelsea player could be vastly different to that of the Chelsea players of the past 2 decades. Couple that with the fact that Chelsea absolutely has to shore up their back line. I mean, Christensen, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta all potentially could be leaving for free at the end of the season. Integral pieces to the back line. How do you overhaul so quickly? I mean, it's really, really strange at Chelsea at the moment. And for much of these reasons, all of this uncertainty, I'm sure it's affecting them. But they have bounced back before, and I wouldn't bet against them to do so again in some capacity, but can they bounce back from 2 goals down and go play at the Bernabeu? We'll see next week. All right, guys, that's all from me today, and so concludes our coverage of the Champions League for this week. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to subscribe to make a habit out of seeing my plant. But beyond that, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.